everybody, welcome back to my channel, G. Parker Artworks and Creations, and I'm so excited to open up my new block, watercolor block from Leyton. I just love this paper. I discovered it this past year and it's just awesome. Trying to open it up now. But the way the paper handles water is it's just the best. So I'm excited. Anyway, today we're going to do a simple wet landscape. Again, I know I said I was probably done with them, but I'm not. Once again, Leyton always includes how to remove paper, which is kind of fun for those that don't know how. And I'm going to open it up, and then we have this top cover, protectant cover of paper. And I just love blocks. If you've watched my channel before, I've talked about how I love block paper because taping doesn't always work for me. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And so it's always nice when you have the block and it behaves itself. So anyway, this is going to be just 3 colors, which is kind of different. I don't usually specify one color over another, but I'm following another channel where they're doing a 3-color thing, and I did that the other day and it was like, oh, this is kind of fun. So we're going to try it. This is a big pad, so I'm going to need to do kind of bigger brush, and I'm kind of wondering which one to use. I have this one, but this is kind of my acrylic brush, so we're going to see how it goes. But first we're going to lay down a layer of water, and you think you get brushes that don't shed, and then you end up with little pieces of bristle, which is not the best thing. Okay, make sure we do. Oh, I didn't tell you. The 3 different colors are Payne's Gray, Burnt Umber, and green. I think it's sap green. So I'm gonna undo it from that so that we can see. I just love how this paper just does wonderful things with wet. And I just love it. So we're just gonna put a little bit more darker color at the bottom here and over here. And we're gonna tilt the paper and let it go. Almost looks like little veins, you know. Just little fingers reaching out. It's kind of cool. sometimes I talk a lot. I'm really chatty. Sometimes I don't. So kind of just depends on my mood. Painting is my happy place. And I want you, as a visitor, subscriber, whichever, to feel comfy here and like to relax and enjoy. Maybe paint. I don't know. Depends on why you're here. So, some people like to soak up extra water. I do it with the little towel, but we're letting this paint kind of, I'm gonna let that go a little higher if it wants to. I'm not used to using this brush for watercolor, so I'm still kind of getting used to this. And I'm going to put some more Payne's Gray on here, because this is another one of those where you want the sharp contrast. And I get my Payne's Gray from a friend that makes it from scratch. She makes her own paints, and it's really awesome. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit water across here. Thought I'd rinsed my brush a little bit better than that. Apparently not. And Payne's Gray is just so dark that it just kind of bleeds into everything else. Okay, then we're going to go down here underneath and do kind of a mirror. Add some more water, and we're done trying to have the water go down. We want it to actually touch a little bit. And bleed into each other a little bit. It's kind of an experiment for me, one, because this is a little bit larger than I usually like to do, and two, it's a different brush. I was gonna say, I guess I could tell you what size it is, but It was one of those that I got in a group and not telling you what it is, so. Can't help you there. But it is a big round. Okay. We're going to let that, I'm going to see if I can get my brush rinsed out a little bit. Because now we're going to go into some of the green and do some tree shapes in the background while it's still kind of wet. So I'll put some over here. You see how it's still wet, so it's still kind of bleeding into that color. And we're going to do a little bit down here. And we get into where it's kind of a little dry brush down here, which is kind of cool. That's all good. And I'm actually going to mix a little burnt umber in there with that green because it's a little too green for my taste. And then we're going to take some of the burnt umber and go in up here, just it. I need to get my brush a little bit wetter because I'm trying to get a little bit more of this burnt umber in there and it doesn't want to go. Because you want it to bleed a little bit into that green. Okay. I think we need a little bit more. And the burnt umber just doesn't want to bleed that much. And we're going to put some down here. Still need some more of the burnt umber in here. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of Payne's Gray in there too. Just not as dark as I wanted. And then we're going to put some up in here. some of the burnt umber. And let's see, I'm trying to decide where I want to go with this now. Take a little bit of this off in here. Do you know about removing paint with if you go back over with watercolor and your brush doesn't have any water on it, you can kind of take some of that water off and some of the paint off, and it's a lot lighter. It's kind of cool how that works. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little tree over here, brown. See how that's still picking up some of the Payne's gray. Take some of that out a little bit, the brush. Actually, I want to add a little bit. Tilt that a little bit. Okay, now we're gonna let it dry for a minute. Okay, so my paper is dry now. I can finish doing the trees. I wanted to point out, I don't know if you noticed, but even though it is a pad, so all of the sides are stuck down, you can't really get to the paper except for this one spot. Even though all of the edges are cut down, it's still, we put enough water on there that it still kind of bubbles a little bit. So just know your paper is gonna do it regardless. So now we're gonna do a tree in here. See if I can get it to go like I want to. Sometimes trees just don't cooperate. But we're gonna take it up here and have a branch over here. And I'm mixing it with, I'm mixing some burnt umber with the Payne's gray. And the paper's still just a little damp. You can see how it's picking that up there. And some people like to use blow dryers. I am just not as much into that. I usually just will wait till the paper's dry. So this time I thought it was drier than it was. But, you know. We'll see if we can get it to work. One thing I love about trees is, you know what? It almost doesn't matter what you do. Those branches just go all sorts of different ways. And unless you, like, I guess, go crazy and do 50 zillion branches or whatever, you can't mess up a tree. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you did it really, really thick and heavy, especially with what we're doing right now. But not likely. So don't stress over doing the tree. You're going to be fine. Sometimes I let myself get a little intimidated by what I'm trying to do. I'm going to ruin the painting. But I've gotten to where I don't stress out too much with a tree. Now, I'm not using my thick one anymore, my big paintbrush. I'm using, this is a round number 10, and I like it because it kind of has, it could go to a point. So it can be, you don't have to get another brush. You can just use this one, and it gives you the tip. Some people like to use the dagger brushes because they kind of do similar. They have a point to them, but I kind of grown attached to this brush. It's especially doing watercolor. It's the one that I like to use. So I like the way that it does the varying. Sometimes I get a little too heavy-handed, like that one there. A little too thick. But, you know, if we channel our Bob Ross persona, there's no mistakes, only happy accidents. And this is a happy little tree with all sorts of little branches coming off into there. Sometimes it depends on how much water's on your brush and how you've loaded your paint as to how that's gonna look. But we're still got this branch going over here. All these little branches coming up. I almost think we ought to see a bird on here. I might have to put a bird. So the picture I'm working off of doesn't have one. And I'm thinking this would be the perfect spot for a bird to be hanging out in this calm little meadow and wintry scene. Or even just see a nest. We have several trees in our neighborhood that now that the leaves are all gone, there's these huge nests, as we have lots of magpies, and that's what they like to do, is build huge nests. So let's see. And I'm going to do a little bit over here. We're going to do a little shadowy. Add some depths to stuff over here. A little bit of dry. you can kind of hear the brush on the paper. That indicates that you're dry brushing. If you wondered what that term came from, it's, yeah, dry brushing. Yeah, let's see. Oh, we're going to, let's see, I'm going to do one more little spot over here. A little bit. Little dry brushing of this over here. This one over here. Kind of softens it a little bit without adding more water. And then we're going to pretend there's a sun coming in through here. So you want to sit there and add some water to this spot, and then you're going to lift it off. You can use a Q-tip, you can use tissue, you can use whatever you want, and try and lift a spot there, depending on how heavy the paint is and all that stuff. It might work, it might not. Some doesn't really want to lift off. So I don't think we're gonna get the sun in there. I'm not that worried about it. I kind of like the way it is. So, but sometimes a Q-tip works. Doing better at that. So then we're going to add just a little bit of grass with the Payne's Gray. And I'm still going to add a little bit of the burnt umber to it. Let's see how this brush can still do the fine lines. You just have to be kind of light-handed with it. Let's see over here. Some back over here, which don't have enough paint on my brush, so not really giving lines. Kind of like the whole happy little cloud thing. Happy little cloud over here, happy little cloud over there. Let's see, do I want to add any more stuff here? I'm trying to decide what I want to do. Oh, I guess we can do a few little leaves. You know how sometimes those leaves do not all come off. So we're going to do a couple of leaves here. And I think we are Sky. Here. Not enough water. And maybe a little snow on the branches here. And for that, we're going to get the smaller brush. So we're going to use number 2. And white is an interesting medium with watercolor. Generally, you just don't use it. But when you've got snow on branches like this, you can add a little bit of highlight in. It's not gonna, because otherwise it just doesn't show up. You've got white paper, and that's what the white paper's for, that white. But when you have snowy pictures, you can add a little bit of without it looking really tacky, like why are you trying to add this to there? A little bit of, because you can't really tell that branch is there. Put a little bit of snow right here in the middle, up here where it kind of add some of that. I did buy a acrylic marker, and I think this is a place where you could use that, because it would be, it stands out a little bit more. In fact, I think we'll use it so you can see what it looks like. And it's one of those that you have to shake in order to get the paint mixed. Okay, and it's supposed to be a fine tip. I'm not seeing that it's that fine a tip in what I've so far. And it's very white. And so I hesitated as to how often I want to use it, because it is a little thicker than I'm going to add a little bit more. But anyway, you can see how it's very white as compared to the watercolor paint. So that was the acrylic. Anyway, well, there you go. That's our wintry meadow with a tree. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. It's been fun trying a different brush and my new big tablet. And remember, if you like what you see, give me a subscribe so you'll know next time we're doing stuff, and give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked this video. And thanks again. Have a great day.